Hey guys, it's Marc and Tania, and we have installed our Shiplap and custom window frame, so stick around. We're going to show you how we did it.
It's 97 degrees today. Perfect day to do shiplap and frames. So what we've done is we cut shiplap to length, and I used a brad nailer to kind of hold it up, and then we put it in place finally with some Spax 1 1/4 inch screws, screwed it into some of the furring strips, and we had to cut this opening out for the window. Later we're going to build a frame that sits right in that opening. So this side's pretty much done. We have the frame is actually finished. Tania is working on painting it right now. I want to do the other side as well, but I can't build the frame until the shiplap is up, so let's get to it on this side. So we started these walls out with a piece of, this is probably 3/8, 3/16, so maybe a little under a 1/4 inch plywood to cover up the very bottom. Now this thing comes 20 inches high. The benches are going to be exactly 20 inches high, so the benches will actually fit right in under this first piece of shiplap. We ran the wires through a hole here. We also made another hole down here because there's this sort of pressure relief thing, filter behind, and I'm not sure if it's going to be a problem if it's covered up. Probably not, but we made a hole anyway. So that is screwed in place. Next thing we did was we started cutting our shiplap pieces. Now when you cut these, keep something in mind. I would say with all woodworking in the van, keep that in mind. If you've got wood rubbing against wood, there's always a chance that it's going to squeak, it's going to rub, you're going to hear it as you're driving. So I've cut this end just a little bit short, and then later if I have to fill it in, I can fill it in with wood filler or something like that. Probably just leave it as is. No one will see it because it's going to be behind cabinets and other stuff, but I wouldn't have places where wood can rub up against wood because it's only probably going to make noise on you. Wires are all set, and now basically all we've got to do is start filling in this area. So when we framed this, we made a nice consistent line really all the way up the side of the van. Made a nice curve here, so now we can just start putting these pieces in place. And to be honest, of all the hard jobs, this is, I won't say it's easy because it's hot, but it's one of the more fun jobs. It instantly starts looking like a home, and yeah, it's pretty exciting. Neighbors now pass by and they're like, oh my gosh, you guys actually made some progress. So yeah, so we're going to build this all the way up to about here, and we'll leave room for the upper cabinets, which will be probably our next episode, and then we're going to start building the frames, and that's it. So let's get started. Five pieces are in. I've got them held in place by 1 1/4 inch brad nails, and I've drawn with my pencil kind of a light outline of where the actual furring strips are. That way later I can remember when I go to put the screws in. I've now kind of reached almost the level of the window, so I'm going to start cutting these pieces that go on the side. I probably need I probably need 2 short pieces on each side, and then 1 across the top, and after that's in I can start building the frame for this bad boy, and I can go inside or to the pool. Yeah, pool's good. There's some really hot lady painting in the garage. Lucky me. Holy crap, it's hot. All right, so this next piece is a little bit tricky. This one's got to be cut. So it will probably extend to up here, but we've got to cut a notch in it for the window frame. So a little bit of a pain, but we can do it. And now it's about to start pouring, but I did manage to cut this last piece. So basically it's just a notch that will fit around the, that'll let me build a frame around the window. So I've got this all held in place with those little brad nails. I'm going to go ahead and countersink and put the 1 1/4 inch screws in here. And I know I've probably got too many of them on the other wall, but I want this thing to be solid. We're going to paint over the screws anyway, so figure a few too many is better than a few too few. So yeah, time to screw these in, and then we'll start building the frame.
So this is what happens in Georgia. It's pouring down rain. We brought all the tools in, closed up the van. We're taking a timeout. Hopefully this will stop and we can get back to doing our project.
So that's kind of the way the weather works in Georgia. It's nice, it's raining, and it's nice again. I don't know if it's nice. Actually, it's cooled down, but it's crazy humid. So I did manage to get all the shiplap pieces in. I screwed them all in, so they are secure. Now I'm going to start measuring these spots here so that we can start building out the window frame, and we'll go from there. So I decided to take a break until the next morning. It's much cooler now, and it's going to be a lot easier to work. So I'm going to start on the window frames now. This is clearly the more fun part of this video. So I'm going to make these again out of 3/4 inch select pine. So this is it's pretty square, so it's really easy to work with. You can get this at most of the big box stores. So when we start making this, we kind of got to figure out what do we want the frame to cover. So one way to do this would be to put the frame down here so that the entire window frame was exposed. That would make it easy to access these screws. The problem is these screws aren't very attractive to look at, so we wanted to kind of cover them up. So we thought about, I've seen other van builders go quite a bit higher, something like this, to where you don't see any of the frame at all. And I don't like the way that looks, because I think you got to have some of the frames so it doesn't look like just a piece of glass floating on the side of the van. So we thought about doing the frame right about here. So this would cover this lower trim ring, which has all the screws in it, but it would expose the black part of the frame, so we'd get a nice contrast between the white, the frame, and then the glass. So we're going to choose to do it this way. So we've actually already measured end to end. It's 37 3/4, I believe, is the distance we need, and the height we need is 9 1/4 inches to get a frame that sits completely around that trim ring. Now, the trim ring has screws in it. It also has these clasps for the screen. So we're going to have to figure out how deep to make this frame. So what I'm going to do is start by measuring the distance from the top of the shiplap to this frame, and then we're going to back that out about 3/8 of an inch to account for the screw heads and these clasps. So I'm not sure what this tool is called, an adjustable square or something, but it's really handy for this job. So basically what I do is I loosen this, and it allows this part of the square to move back and forth. So basically I loosen the screw, I'll start up here, I put the frame of this square right on the top of the shiplap, I push this forward until it hits the frame, then tighten it down, and I take that measurement. And that measurement is 3.5 inches. So now I'm going to go around all 4 of them. Actually, I've already done it. So I know this one is 3 9/16, this one is 3 5/8, and this is 3 3/4. So I'm now going to take those numbers and back them down about 3/8 of an inch and figure out what they've got to be. So I've kind of made this diagram so I can see. So I know up here the depth I need is 3 3/16. Here we've got 3 1/8, 3 1/4, and 3 3/8. So now I've got to cut my wood with those depths in mind. So let's go into the shop and get this done.
Not my brightest moment, but I painted this with the kills and left it on the cardboard. And this is what happened. So it dried, and I pulled it off the cardboard, and now it's still tacky. I'm gonna have to sand it down and put some more kills on it. And then I'm going to take it inside, because it's still quite humid in the garage, and let it dry. So this is kind of the look that we're going with. It is not nailed in. The window frame has a coat of Kills paint on it, It's not glued in or nailed in, but Mark is just kind of taking a look at it. And this is kind of what it looks like. Looks great.
So I've got my 4 pieces of wood cut according to this diagram. So the long pieces are 33 and 3/4. The short ones are 9 1/4. Now I've got to decide how deep each of these are going to be, because remember, because of the curvature of the van, the depth of this frame sort of changes. So I've got 2 points measured out. Here it's 3 1/8. So I've gone ahead and I've measured 3 1/8. Here I've measured 3 3/16. And then I went ahead and ran a straight edge between those 2 points to connect them. I also ran those lines down the face of the wood there. And the reason I do this is because now I got to figure out how to cut this. I can cut it with probably a circular saw and a guide, but it's probably going to be not very accurate. I could cut it with a jigsaw, which probably also won't be very accurate. I really like to cut it with the table saw, but there's really no way to cut angled pieces of wood, tapers, on a table saw. So I figured out a way. Actually, I saw it on YouTube. I didn't make this up. I basically ran this piece of wood through the table saw, and then I left the blade exactly where it is. So now what I'm going to do, I know the blade basically rides against this edge of this scrap piece of wood. So I'm going to take our good piece that we need to cut, and I'm going to put a couple pieces of this little 3M double-sided sticky tape here. One there and one there. And now I'm basically going to line up these marks with the edge of this piece of wood. I should be able to run this whole piece right through the table saw, and it will just cut off the excess. Let's do it. Perfect tapers on a table saw. So the pieces are cut, we've matched up all the edges, and now we're going to glue everything together and then hit it with some finish nails to hold it, and then we'll start building the face frame. So the box is actually done. It came out really nice. Actually, it's nice and square, as you can see. I've sanded down the back end. This is actually the edge that's going to touch the skin of the van, but I went ahead and sanded it anyway. It's been glued and brad nailed together. I've got some clamps on it. I'm going to wait about an hour for this to dry before I take the clamps off. So right now I'm actually working on the face frame. So the interior dimensions of this are 9 1/4 by let's see what I wrote down here. So this is actually 32 1/4 in length and then 9 1/4 in height. I want to add an 1/8 inch on each side for a little reveal, so I'm adding a 1/4 inch to those measurements. So now I've got, I need this piece to be 32 1/2 and this length to be 9 1/2. So I need 4 pieces of wood. I've got those two already cut to 9 1/2 inches. I've got this cut to 37.5, and somehow I am out of 1x4 wood or 1x3 wood in the shop. I've got all this stuff, but somehow I am missing a piece of 1x3. I've actually got some poplar over here that's 1x3, but this is crazy expensive, so I don't want to use it just to rip off a little piece. I've got some cedar 1x3 that I've got to use for the frames for the AC unit and the max air fan, so I don't want to use that, and all that stuff doesn't fit. So back to Home Depot to get one piece of wood, and then we're going to start on the frame.
So we're finished with lunch. We came back from Home Depot, and Mark is finished with the box, and I'm going to do the face of the frame. My first time, so bear with me. If I call something something else, I'm sure Mark will be happy to inform you the correct name of it. So this little gadget is super cool. I don't know if you've ever used one, but ever since Mark showed me how to use it, I always want to use it. It's really cool. So we're going to use, there's 3 holes. You want to use the 2 on the outside. So now that I have it centered and spaced, you just take your drill, you start drilling down, and keep drilling as you come up. Drill down and drill up, and then there's a trigger here. You pull, and voila, ta-da! There's 2. Can you tell I really like using this? It's really easy, and it's fun. Mark says he's got new tools. Not all of them I feel comfortable using, but this one is really neat.
All right, so to do this,
okay,
you're going to put a bit of glue. We're going to do this one first. We're not going to worry about anything else.
Can I do this side while you do that one?
No, because then the glue will dry. We don't want the glue to dry. So we want the glue to stay nice and wet. So I'm going to put these in position.
Okay.
And the next thing we're going to do is start to squeeze everything together, because these pocket screws can make everything kind of move around. So we want to make sure that everything is kind of flush against the plywood, so one piece isn't sticking up in case it's curved. And we want this nice and tight.
All right.
That's it. See how it pulls everything together?
Right. Oh, I see. Yes.
And this clamp
so
makes sure that everything is even on top.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So now what we'll do, we'll actually turn this. I think you got this. I'm going to go to the pool.
No, don't go anywhere. So my frame and face are ready. Been about a half hour, took the clamps off. It's looking really, really nice. Did need to sand it down. I used a 150 and a 220 grit, if you're wanting to know. The only thing that I need to do left with this is to use some kilts on this. It is quite humid still outside in the garage, so I'll probably do it out here in the garage, take it inside to the house to let it dry thoroughly, and then paint it, and then we'll install it. So stay tuned.
Hey guys, so you can see we've added, it's actually like another week and a half later. We're actually working on a couple projects at one time, even though we're a little slow. If you haven't figured out, we're not really the typical van build couple. We've got 4 kids between us. We're all busy in their activities, so we don't get to come out here all that often and work on it, but we love doing it. So we're actually working on this wall still. We're also working on a piece of trim to cover up this piece up here. I'm not sure which video we're going to release first, so you may already know about this. I'm not sure. It's going to depend on which one we get done. So we built the wall up to here. I think we stopped here. We built it up the last 2 pieces. I've gone ahead and drilled a hole and run some wires for our night lights, which are going to go here and another one here on this side. There is actually a block of wood behind the shiplap so that when I screw this in, it's got something to bite down into other than just that shiplap, which is pretty thin material. So it's got a little block of wood behind it. We've put another piece. This is actually the wires for the lights for the upper cabinet, which is probably going to go through a hole somewhere over here. So this piece is actually, both these pieces are loose. What I'll do is I'll build a little piece to finish this off, then I'll build the cabinets, and then I'll run this wire and then put everything in finally. But this is essentially what it's going to look like. So I've got to finish this area now. So we're actually going to put shiplap on the outside shower wall as well. So let's get to that. So we've started to work on the outside wall of the shower. So this is going to be shiplapped all the way up, and I want to make sure these lines match going across. So basically put the first couple pieces in, and then I scribe the edge, cut the edge, and again I'm leaving a little bit of space there so I can fill it in with putty so there's no chance of wood rubbing against other wood. Now as we start getting high, oh by the way, we're making this flush with the front of the shower. This is always like the funny part. You're never sure, should this go in front, should it be behind it, how's it going to go? But we are going to leave it right flush with it because at the end, let me get this piece out of your way. At the end we'll put a trim piece, and that's what it'll look like in the end. So it'll look nice. This will have a nice trim piece in front of it that can be painted, so it looks really good. It'll also cover that hole in the wall. So always think ahead to what the next step is going to look like. So it's flush here, scribed here. Now the next piece that goes in, if you notice, because this wall angles this way, you see we're starting to get a discrepancy in the height there. So this is now a bit higher than this. So I think going up the wall, I'm going to have to cut probably a 1/16 of an inch off of the boards as we go up. I think up there the wall gets a little more vertical, but here there's a pretty good slope on it. So what we'll do is we'll cut a 1/16 of an inch off with the table saw, and then we should be able to build it up from there. I'm not going to build it all the way up because I want to leave room, so I've got to put in the plumbing and all that stuff, but I want to at least get part of the wall built up so we get a nice look. And now you can see that after we run this through the table saw, see if I could zoom in on that. That's pretty even right there. So literally you are taking off just, I mean, half the width of the table saw blade, just the very tiniest bit, and it makes it fit in. So we'll do that to the next few pieces, and then we're going to go ahead, and I'm just holding them in with brad nails for now, and we'll go ahead and get it built up.
So after sanding the putty and making sure that it's nice and smooth, it's really important to just go over with a very light damp cloth just to go over the walls. Make sure you get all the dust off, so you're starting with a very clean surface and getting the wall prepared to paint. The color we're using is called Zen. It's beautiful. So it's not too white, not too cream. It's just a really nice color.
So it's attached. The next step is to fill the holes with some putty, and then we'll get to painting them.
So now this is the window frame is now ready to be installed, and it has been painted. We did use some wood filler where the nails are. I've already sanded it down. It's already been painted. And we learned something from the other install. There wasn't a lot of places for us to screw into, so Mark went behind here and, as you can see, added a few more pieces of wood just to give it a little bit more, I guess, make it more sturdy and have some places for the frame to screw into. So another thing that I thought was genius is that he went ahead and marked out with a pencil, if you can see these pencil lines, because look at this. So when I put this in here, ta-da! These pencil lines show you exactly where we can now screw this in, and we don't have to play a guessing game.
So to attach the window frame to the wall, we're using 2-inch, these are Spax exterior deck screws. These Spax screws are fantastic. They've got a special bit that you've got to use. So we've got the driver with that bit, and I've got an impact driver with a little, probably maybe 1/8 of an inch bit with a countersink on the end of it so we can sink the head in. But we're going to put 4 screws in. That should hold up 4 down here. We've labeled where they go. And once those are in, we will go ahead and paint, cover up those screw holes and then paint. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching the video. We are really happy with the way the walls and the shiplap and the window frames came out, and we really hope you got something out of this video. We're actually away from home for about another week, so if we don't post anything in that time, don't worry, we'll be back soon after. But look what we found in our wonderful state of New Jersey.
Ta-da! We actually stopped by here a couple months ago when we were visiting, and this couple were actually building it out. They're not complete finish with it, so
There might be now.
yeah, so we're actually gonna stop by and knock on their door and see how they're coming along. So
until then, thanks again for watching. Go ahead and click that little subscribe button if you want to follow along on our entire van build series, and give us a thumbs up if you liked the video. Until then, we'll see you next time.
bye.